Let me clarify something. There was actually a lot I enjoyed about Ahsoka Episode 5. I absolutely ate up those Clone Wars flashbacks. I would really enjoy seeing a live-action Clone Wars if Disney did it well and actually stayed true to the original story. I also love seeing Hayden Christensen on the screen as Anakin again, and I feel like he perfectly embodied Clone Wars Anakin. It felt so genuine to me. Ariana Greenblatt also knocked it out of the park as young Ahsoka. I was surprised because even her body language and her voice perfectly fit the character, and I would love to see her in a live-action Clone Wars too. Oh yeah, and let's not forget Rex's cameo that lasted 3 seconds. However, this episode left me with so many questions. How was Ahsoka able to enter the world between worlds so easily? Why was Hera able to hear the lightsaber duel between Anakin and Ahsoka if she isn't even Force sensitive? Why was Rex wearing his armor backwards? But my biggest question of all is what exactly was Anakin trying to teach Ahsoka in this episode? It honestly just felt so jumbled up and vague to me, because at one part Anakin was trying to get her to come to grips with her past, at another part he was getting her to choose between life and death, and he also accused her of lacking conviction. I'm just imagining if I'm watching this show as a casual viewer and I've never seen the Clone Wars or Rebels before, I would not know what is going on whatsoever. And I know I was not the only one who was confused by this episode. I talked to family, friends, and even saw social media posts on Instagram of people just confused about what lesson Anakin was trying to convey. I sort of get what the writers were getting at, but at the same time, without a clear, overarching moral of the story, there really wasn't any reason to include Anakin or these flashbacks at all, except to appeal to fans like me. It would make sense if Anakin was helping Ahsoka cope with her past, but in this show, there really isn't much indication that she's dealing with much guilt from the Clone Wars. So it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to include these flashbacks if there's no build up to it. It reminded me of that plotline from The Last Jedi when Luke says he has 3 key lessons to teach Rey. But in reality, the lessons were pretty much the Force exists, lift this rock, and there really wasn't a 3rd lesson. So that's just what it felt like to me, just very vague, as if the writers didn't know what direction they wanted to go in. What would have made this episode so much better and easier to follow is if the show had built up that Ahsoka had guilt from the Clone Wars, maybe she had nightmares like Obi-Wan had on Tatooine, maybe she was dealing with really deep depression and suicidal thoughts. If the writers had provided this kind of background leading up to the episode, it would have made so much more sense. It would explain why Anakin helps Ahsoka reconcile with her past, even pushing her to her breaking point until she realizes that her life is worth living. It would also clarify why Anakin kept emphasizing that Ahsoka needs to press on and keep fighting. There are so many people out there who struggle with self-worth, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. Imagine just how impactful this episode could have been, especially for the young adults my age or younger, to see one of their favorite characters struggle with depression and choose life and come out on top.
I choose to live.
There's hope for you yet.
If the writers had taken this route and been more intentional about Anakin's lesson for Ahsoka, this easily could have been one of the most beautiful pieces of Star Wars content ever made. But instead, it was all just kind of vague and felt like glorified fanfiction to me. But those are just my thoughts. I really want to hear yours, so please feel free to go to the comment section and let me know what you think about this episode. I'd also like to say, if you are someone who personally struggles with suicidal thoughts or depression, please remember that you are priceless and you are literally made in God's image. I'd really encourage you to check out the resources that I linked in the video description below, and as always, feel free to shoot me a message or an email. So thank you guys for listening to this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and may the Force be with you always.